Greetings to all the followers of National Democratic Alliance's Facebook and YouTube channel. I am Vahagn Avakyan. I am the spokesperson of a Council of National Democratic Alliance, and we're gonna present today an important research regarding evaluation of EU observer mission in Armenia. As you know, many of you have heard, the head of occupational regime in Yerevan, Nikol Pashinyan, have stated publicly a couple of days ago that he have offered to President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev to remove some part of EU observer mission from the positions which he described as already delimited and demarked. And one should ask Nikol Pashinyan, why you are offering this, what you are getting for this offer, what is there for Armenia, and what the EU observer mission, how EU observer mission challenges you, so you want to remove part of it. We have heard many times from President Aliyev and from President Putin and other Russian high officials that they have demanded the removal of EU observer mission from Armenia. We understand why they want EU observer mission to be removed from Armenian border, de facto borders. But we can't understand, for sure we understand, but this is a rhetorical question. Why Nikol Pashinyan offering this and what he getting for that offer from Azerbaijan? He is offering something to Azerbaijan to remove EU observer mission. And this is more interesting, this fact, because a couple of weeks ago, France's ambassador to Armenia, Mr. Olivier de Contier, gave an interview to HEDC, and he has stated that the Brussels have plans to increase the number of EU observer mission in Armenia, and it's, let's say, enlarge also its mandate to make possible to, for even more effective EU mission in Armenia. And after this statement from Ambassador of France, we are hearing a publicly statement of this occupational regime, Russian-Turkish occupational regime, head Nikol Pashinyan's statement that clearly contradicts these intentions of Brussels and the France. And so we have tried to represent our society, chance to evaluate themselves the EU mission's work in Armenia. One should ask, is their mission effective? Is it good for Armenia or not? Russians and Azeris are asking this question very much. So we have tried to evaluate this using the AI technologies. And I want to state first and foremost that this is not most accurate evaluation. This is not the best research that you can make to evaluate the effectiveness of EU mission in Armenia. But to have a better evaluation, you need to have a sovereign, for example, government, and particularly sovereign Ministry of Defense in Armenia to get a clear information regarding the border issues with Azerbaijan before EU mission deployment and after. And as we regard Armenian top officials, including Ministry of Defense of Armenia, based on their public statements. They are not representing Armenian interests. They are national teachers based on their statements. I can give just one. For example, in August 1st of 2023, during the hearings of a National Defense Committee in National Assembly, the Ministry of Defense of Armenia during the 44-day war have stated publicly that Artsak's anti-air system could have destroyed the Turkish F-16s, which have then, we know that they attacked and have dominated the air during whole the war. And I quote Minister of Defense, he says, Russians asked us not to destroy the Turkish F-16s, and we have done what they have asked from us. So this is the clear, one example of the clear statement of a national treachery from the Ministry of Defense. And of course, Nikol Pashinyan is a man who is responsible for that Ministry of Defense. So we have we don't think that mode of Armenia or Armenian government will help us to most accurately evaluate the EU observer mission in Armenia. But we have tried our best, and I think we have done a good research, and we're gonna share this research with you. So what we have done, basically, we took the time span just aftermath of the 44-day war end, November 10th, 2020, and until July 12th of 2024. This is not so important, but I want you to inform the first and last date of period of our research. So it's from November 10th, 2020 until July 12th of 2024. And we know that the first EU observer mission was deployed on October 20, 2022. And so what we're gonna do, we'll try to evaluate the border clashes before deployment of EU observer mission and after that. And we'll try to compare these two time spans. Okay, so the research was conducted on a basis of the platform rumorsmonitoring.com in Armenian language, which gives us a possibility to evaluate the media reports and their frequency based on the keywords during our search. So we have used the keywords to try to understand how often in Armenian media these keywords have appeared during the time period which we are interested in. The key phrases were gunfire at the Armenian-Azerbaijani border, tensions at the Armenian-Azerbaijani border, attack on Armenian positions, Azerbaijan has attacked, Azerbaijani provocation, shooting at the Armenian-Azerbaijani border, and Azerbaijan's provocative actions. So this is our keywords. And one more thing to show on the graphs, we will have a vertical arrow. It will show the number of found articles during the time span we are interested in, and the horizontal coordinate mark will mean the period under the review. Okay, so the first period, as we're starting from the November 10 of 2020, just the end of the war, until the end of the 2020, there's just basically more than 1 month, of course, 50 days, something about that, 50 days. So from November 10th to December the 31st, as you see from the graph, we have searched this time span, and we can see the increasing graph, and we can see the top number of articles found by the system is at the end of the December. So it's somewhere near 350 articles found using these keywords. And we can see that we can monitor the media, which we have done, and we can see that this sharp increase of December is related to Azerbaijan's operations in Syunik province, specifically regarding the occupation of Sanasar and Kovsakan villages, as well as in Artsakh, Khetsabert, Hintagher, and Dizapayt Mountains occupation. And this was performed after the cessation of military operations and have been performed in the area of responsibility of so-called Russian peacekeepers. Okay, from this slide, I think we can go forward. We will compare this number afterwards. So 350 articles. And as we understand, this is before EU mission deployment. So this is the graph for 2021 full year, from January 1 to December 31. And we can see the average number of articles was increasing during the year. But the most important, of course, thing is the peak we are observing here. So this peak in the May of 2021. And we can see that the number of articles found by the system is 1,100. This is a huge number of articles for this research. And we are reading the press of that days, and we see what the Azerbaijani military's incursion into Armenia, Azerbaijan's military aggression and occupation of territories, which began on May 12, 2021. Azerbaijani armed forces crossed the territory of Republic of Armenia in the area of Lake Sevan and also in the regions of Verin, Shorja and Kut. Armenia requested military assistance from Russia and the CSTO regarding the issue, but did not receive a proportional response from CSTO, and the Russian government have proposed to carry out delimitation and demarcation process. It is 2021, May 12. Russian government, when they attacked their documented ally, the enemy attacked your ally, which you have documents with signed of a help in defense, into the territory which you have claimed before during Artsakh occupation that only that area you recognize as Armenia. And now that area have been under attack. And the Russian official statements of that days was, hey, perform delimitation and demarcation for us to know which is Armenia. We don't know Lake Sevan is Armenia or no. We don't know that. We don't know Verin, Shorja and Kut are Armenia or not. Make delimitation and demarcation with Azerbaijan. There we will come to help you. This is very important, and I will mention about this in the future too. Okay, so we also read that on the morning of May 27, Azerbaijani forces captured 6 servicemen of the Eray armed forces. They were captured in the border area of Gegharkunik province while performing engineering work within the area of responsibility of military unit number N. So motive pushed by Russia of carry out delimitation and demarcation for us to know where your border is for us to protect you will be repeated continuously during the year, which will lead to the creation of necessary conditions for the arrival of EU mission. So before this, there is no EU mission. No one is working against Russia. It is you and your ally Armenia which is under attack. No one is helping Armenia beside you if you help. But no, you say make demarcation and delimitation process. By the way, this is very important for our listeners to know that after the Prague meeting, four-sided meeting where the demarcation and the delimitation processes have been have been valued highly, let's say so. The Armenian society have been told from our agencies, which are Russian controlled of course, that you know, the Europeans have trying to force Artsakh to be in a part of Azerbaijan. They want you to make a so-called delimitation and demarcation on the conditions of Azeris. But during the 2020, full 2021, Russian officials have told Armenia to make that demarcation and delimitation for them to help Armenia. This is by the way. Okay, this is 2021 and we are going to 2022. And we can see already here, this is the October of 2022. This point is the point where EU mission starts. Before that, we can see there is a sharp changes of our graph. On October, okay, this action follows the EU decision to deploy observer experts. The October 2022, the EU monitoring mission began its activities in Armenia. This action follows the EU's decision to deploy observer experts on the Armenian side along the international border with Azerbaijan. The Armenian mission, consisting of 40 civilian observer experts, will monitor the situation in the border regions between Armenia and Azerbaijan regarding the developments concerning military positions and ceasefires. The monitoring of 2022 is notable when compared to 2021 because the dynamics of tensions here are not monotonic and show sharp increases. Yeah, we can see the graph has a sharp increases. Let's examine the periods of the sharpest increases separately. We can see this is a March, this is a September, and this is a December. Let's understand which points are these sharp increases show us, which they show us. So the largest tension of the year occurs in March. We can see this is the number of articles is close to 1,000, even more than 1,000. And we reading the press, and it reports that Azerbaijan has captured the village of Parukh and the Karagaluh mountain in Artsakh. It later becomes clear that with the mediation of so-called Russian peacekeepers, the Armenian and Azerbaijani armed forces were offered to withdraw mirror-like from their positions to prevent further tensions. Armenian forces retreated, after which Azerbaijani forces captured the abandoned positions without resistance, forcing the villagers to leave their homes. Radio Free Europe quotes the village mayor of Parukh on March 25. They entered Parukh yesterday, says Mikhailian, in response to Azatutyun's questions about whether he is sure the Haith has also been captured. He replies that at least it is visible from afar that there are also representatives of Azerbaijani armed forces there, which came with many people armed, entered the village in groups from different directions, and then approached the Karagaluh area. There were people in the village. We took them out at the moment, says the mayor. In response to Azatutyun's questions regarding where the peacekeepers were at the time, the mayor stated that they were in the village, but while negotiating with one group of Azerbaijanis, the other groups moved forward towards the village. The village mayor, who left Parukh yesterday, no longer knew exactly where the clashes between the defense army and Azerbaijan's unit took place. Earlier today, the Ministry of Defense of Artsakh reported that Azerbaijani armed forces invaded the territory of the Republic of Artsakh, which is under the responsibility of Russian peacekeeping forces, taking control of the village of Parukh in the Askeran region and surrounding positions, and then attempted to make advancements in the eastern border zone of the Republic of Artsakh. Okay, so we see the first most sharpest point of a 2022. It's in Artsakh under the zone of protection of Russian peacekeepers. Okay? The next sharpest point of a graph is September. Let's read what happened there in the September to have this sharp graph. The next sharp increase is clearly seen in September 2022, where the system identified around 700 articles. We read that on September 13, 2022, the Azerbaijani army again attacked the territory of Republic of Armenia. The hostilities lasted for 2 days. Around 200 square kilometers of territory were captured and 225 Armenian servicemen were killed. According to official figures from Baku, 77 Azerbaijani servicemen were killed. The main strike of the Azerbaijani forces was directed at the resort town of Jermuk in Vayot Dzor. The town was subjected to shelling. Azerbaijani forces also launched attacks towards Sotk, Vartenis, Artanish, Goris, Kapan, and Ishkhanasar. At the end of the month, starting from the September 28 at 1800, Azerbaijani military units opened fire with mortars and large caliber firearms on the combat positions located in the eastern direction of the Armenian-Azerbaijani border. The Armenian side suffered 3 casualties as a result of Azerbaijani provocation. Okay, it is noteworthy that these events occurred amidst Azerbaijan's creeping occupation of the remaining part of Artsakh and inaction from Armenia's ally Russia before the well-known quadrilateral meeting in Prague on October 6, 2022, where, according to Russia's officials, Armenia recognized Artsakh as a part of Azerbaijan and denied Russia the opportunity to protect it from ethnic cleansing. So not only Azerbaijan was attacking the Armenia's so-called internationally recognized territories, let's call it Soviet Armenia's territories, which Russia has obligation to defend. Not only they didn't do that, but also Azerbaijan's aggression against Artsakh with the Russian so-called peacekeeping contingent in Artsakh was continuing every day. Every day, Azeris were taking new positions, new villages, killing more and more people under the eyes and under the hands of the so-called Russian peacekeepers. And this is important, very important thing, that Russia's official propaganda was that your prime minister in the Prague have recognized Artsakh as a part of Azerbaijan. This is why our peacekeepers can't defend Artsakh people. But what is the problem here is that on November 10th, 2020, just hours after the capitulation signed by Nikol Pashinyan, Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, during an interview with public TV of Russia, have stated that the area around Nagorno-Karabakh and Nagorno-Karabakh itself is internationally recognized territory of Azerbaijan. Already in the 2020, November 9th, Putin has stated this publicly. And he added that we, as a Russians, as a friends of Armenians, because we remember what has happened during the 90s, during the pogroms in Baku and Sumgait, we, even though we recognize this is Azerbaijan's international territory, we deploy our peacekeepers to defend Armenian population of Azerbaijan because there were pogroms before, for us to not let new pogroms and new ethnic cleansing to happen again. So Putin himself has stated that we bring our peacekeepers into Azerbaijan, not into Armenia, not into the independent country of Artsakh. We bring our peacekeepers into internationally recognized territory of Azerbaijan to defend the Armenian population of Azerbaijan. So when the propaganda started to represent it, that there was some meeting in Prague which led made possible for Azerbaijan to attack Artsakh again even though there is a deployment of peacekeepers of Russia, this is, I don't know how to call this cynism or inhuman cynism, I would say. How you dare, what you think about our nation, who you think you are. Armenian nation has a history of 5,000 years. And what history do you have? What history have Russia? History of occupation and killings, this is the Russia. And you think that this propaganda can make Armenian public is stupid. We are all are idiots, and no one understands what you are doing with your brothers Turks, with your real allies Turks and Azeris, and with your allies the so-called government of Armenia, your occupational government here. We understand it very clearly. And yeah, I wanted to emphasize this because this is very important. Many in our society continuing to be fooled by this propaganda of Russia. Okay, let's continue. As we can see, after the September aggression, EU mission in Prague, in Prague there was the quadrilateral meeting with Macron, with if I'm not mistaken, with the EU representative, and the EU mission became a possibility. In the circumstances, I repeat, in the circumstances where Azerbaijan was constantly attacking and Artsakh and the so-called Soviet Armenian territories. In that situation, EU observer mission have been deployed, where Armenia has had no any chance to defend itself, because it has treacherous government and it has enemies and no allies. And this European meeting in Prague gave a chance to President Macron to make it possible for EU to deploy this mission. And we can see this point is that point where mission have been deployed. And what we will do now, most important thing we will do, we will observe the next months and next years to understand the difference of dynamics of a border clashes and Armenian losses after the deployment of EU mission. Okay? Okay, so amidst Russia's continued inaction and even clear collaboration with Azerbaijan, the EU mission commenced in Armenia with an initial crew of 40 personnel on October 20. Let's attempt to observe the tensions recorded by the system and to understand their dynamics compared to preceding period. One of the most noticeable sharp increases of the year occurs in the month following the entry of the EU mission, with around 550 articles in December. We can see here deployment of EU mission, and just a month after that we see the huge increase. So this is tensions. But what tensions? And we read it. We review the press and see that on December 12th, Azerbaijani environmentalists set up tents on the Goris-Stepanakert road and effectively began the blockade of Artsakh. We note that after the commencement of the EU observers' work, the first significant increase in tensions took place in Artsakh in the presence of Russian peacekeepers outside the area covered by the EU observers' mission. Okay, so we have reviewed this. This is again the Russia. This is the Russia's doing. EU mission can have no possibility to observe that the Artsakh. Back then, National Democratic Alliance made a public statement and made a rally towards the EU mission in Գեղարքունիք, and we have asked for the deployment even more EU mission observers in Armenia and in Artsakh too. As we can see in the future, it never happened in Artsakh, and we lost Artsakh because of that also. So the next year is 2023, and we are observing the 2023. The peak tensions of 2023 occurs in the April, here, in the May, in the June, and we can see in the September. So let's review these points. Where the EU observer mission when this happened? Where were you? What you were doing? You are helping us, EU mission. Let's see. So on April 11, in the village of Ter in Syunik province, as a result of Azerbaijani provocation, the Armenian side had 4 casualties and 6 wounded. And we read the reports, there were no EU observers present on the ground. Instead, there were Russian military convoys, and the entry of EU observers was prohibited by the Armenian police. Can you believe this? So Russia, after the 2020 war, have deployed not only its peacekeepers in Artsakh, but alongside the whole eastern border with Azerbaijan, it deployed some convoys, Russian convoys, for helping Armenia to defend itself. You know what for. And one of these convoys were in Ter, the village of Ter. And because there was Russian convoy there, Armenian police didn't allow EU observer mission to enter the area and to observe the Azerbaijani aggression. So Armenian police and Armenian government was collaborating with Russia and Azerbaijan to give away Armenian lands. Can you believe this? Yeah, we continue to see the same pattern in subsequent escalations. In all areas where there were Russian military posts and entry of EU observers was forbidden, Azerbaijanis attacked and seized new territories. On May 11, it's here, starting from 6:00, Azerbaijani armed units opened fire using artillery and mortars against Armenian positions in the directions of Sotk. On May 11 and 12, due to Azerbaijani provocations, the Armenian side suffered 1 casualty and 8 injuries. Azerbaijani armed forces also fired at an ambulance transporting an injured soldier. On May 17th, Azerbaijani forces fired at the Sotk position, resulting in the injury of serviceman Edgar Suleimanian, who died before reaching the hospital. Azerbaijani armed forces shot at the ambulance carrying the injured serviceman, which also wounded the medic. PanArmenia.net writes, the head of the Sotk community in Գեղարքունիք province, Sevak Khachatryan, stated that the announcement made by the management of the Sotk mine regarding the closure of the open gold mine due to the impact of insurmountable force, the open gold mine will be closed, which has shocked the residents of the community. According to 8 witnesses, and this is most important, the Russian forces had left Sotk before the attack, just before the attack. They left Sotk. We weren't able to find any report from EU mission regarding these events. Again, we can state that this is due to the presence of Russian military convoys in the area. In June, it is here, Azerbaijan attacked the directions of Martakert and Martuni in Artsakh. As a result of another Azerbaijani provocation, on June 28, the fallen servicemen of the Defense Army, Armo Abgaryan and Gagik Balayan, were buried in Artsakh today, June 30. It is noteworthy to mention that Armo Abgaryan and Gagik Balayan were from the village of Gishi in Martuni region of Artsakh. Armo Abgaryan was 54 years old and Gagik Balayan was 36. They both volunteered for service and each had a child. We recall that on June 28, Due to another Azerbaijani provocation in the direction of Martakert and Martuni, 4 servicemen of the defense army were killed. Armo Abgaryan, Samvel Torosyan, Yerevan Tadevosyan, and Gagik Balayan. Once again, we note that the incident occurred in a location outside the EU observers' mission. The peak of 2023 occurred in the notorious month of September. It is here. And this is a month of ethnic cleansing of Armenians from Artsakh and occupation of Artsakh. EU mission was outside of area under their control. This area was under control and responsibility of Russian peacekeepers. Okay, so next year is 2024, and we didn't made a report for full year. We just ended on July because you will understand why. Yeah, because there were no casualties after that reported. Major casualties and major tensions. So the peak tension of 2024 is the February. We read in the press that on the morning of February 13, yeah, it is this. As a result of another provocation and use of force by the Azerbaijani armed forces in the village of Nerkin Hand, in the enlarged community of Kapan, in Syunik province of Republic of Armenia, the Armenian side suffered 4 casualties and 1 injury. It is not surprising that we encountered the same situation and same pattern that we have presented before. Nerkin Hand was one of the few remaining areas in the Armenia where Russian forces were present, making it impossible for EU observers to enter. The minor peak of April was during the period of unilateral concession in Kiranz, Voskepar and Baganis, which occurred without military operations from Azerbaijan, although they were accompanied by threats of use of force, which is also important. Okay? So let's review and make summary, yeah? So we have reviewed the period from 10th of November 2020 to 12th of July 2024. We have used the rumors monitoring AI-powered resource, which gave us ability to monitor the media reports of Armenia, of Armenian community in Armenian language, based on the keywords we have used, which were related to the Azerbaijani's aggression against Armenia. So we see that the peaks of the graphs, but not only the peaks of the graphs interesting to us, yeah, but also the average number of articles per year, because we have observed the peak attacks. But what about the average number of articles reported? And we can see that from 2021 to 22, the graphs fluctuate around approximately 200 articles, while in 2023, which we can consider the first full year of EU observers' activity, that number is almost a half, at 100. In the first 6 months of 2024, it does not exceed just a 20. In summary, we can assert that since the start of EU monitoring mission in Armenia, the number of incidents along the Armenian-Azerbaijani de facto contact line has steadily decreased, while the most severe incidents occurred in areas inaccessible to the monitoring mission, which were controlled by Russian armed forces, and Armenian government itself do not give a permission for EU observers to enter that areas. During this time, there have been numerous instances where the EU monitoring mission has promptly refuted the disinformation spread by Azerbaijani Ministry of Defense regarding ceasefire violations of movements by Armenian forces along the border. And also one important thing I want to emphasize for our publicity, Armenian publicity, there were times where EU mission have reported and made a statement that the EU mission encourages both sides to not to increase the tensions. And the Armenian publicity, starting to ask themselves why EU mission points on Armenian side too, you know. All we know, everyone know that Azerbaijan is aggressor and they are attacking and they are making the provocations. Why EU mission made, couple of times they made statements addressing both sides. And I want to assure Armenian publicity and Armenian community that EU observers' mission not only was to stop Azerbaijani's aggression towards Armenia, but also to ensure that so-called Armenian side not making the provocation, not giving the Azerbaijani side a clear reasons, de facto reasons to attack and to occupy the Armenian territories. You shouldn't be surprised for that, because our defense ministry publicly stated that he, based on the player from the Russian side, lost the war against Azerbaijan. Russians asked not to hit the Turkish F-16s, which came to kill Armenians and to occupy Armenian lands. Russia asked our defense ministry not to answer to Turks, and he publicly stated that he done that player. He done that, what was asked from him. For our publicity should know that the Armenian highest officials are the Russian agents, and in Ministry of Defense too, Russia can make any kind of provocation with the hands of an Armenian army to give Azerbaijan permission to attack Armenia. Russia can do these kind of operations anytime. So EU observers' missions was not just to watch for Azerbaijan. It's just part of it. The most important part is not to give a chance for the Russians to make provocations with the Armenians' hand, which they done a lot. And EU observer statements regarding both sides, I assume, related to this fact. So in summary, I can say that since the start of EU monitoring mission in Armenia, the number of incidents, as we say, in the contact line was steadily decreasing, while the most severe incidents have occurred in the areas inaccessible to the monitoring mission and which were controlled by the Russian armed forces. Again, this is not the most accurate research of an issue, but we can say that this gives us a chance to state clearly that EU observer mission was most important, single most important factor of a defense of Armenia from the Russian-Turkish aggression last 2 years after their deployment after October 20, 2022. So we urge European Union, United States, and France. I think I can say this not only in my name, but the name of a National Democratic Alliance, which, by the way, have stated today have made a statement regarding EU mission, and I will ask the director of this report to put the link of that statement also with this report, and I can say with the National Democratic Alliance and the whole Armenian community, and we'll ask Mr. Olivier de Contier, the ambassador of France, and the representatives of US to continue to work to enlarge the EU observer mission and to press the occupational government of Armenia in the face of Nikol Pashinyan to deploy more observers and to enlarge their mandate. Hope it will be helpful. And we gonna talk, I hope, soon. Bye bye.